Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why your heart feels so heavy? Why, despite all the love you give, all the kindness you show, you still find yourself alone at the end of each day? Your phone sits silent. Your messages go unanswered. And that aching for a favor, did you immediately say yes, even as your inner voice screamed no? Did you ignore your own plans, your own needs, your own dreams just to prove how nice you are? And when they thanked you, did that brief moment of validation feel worth the exhaustion that followed? We've become collectors of gratitude, addicted to the momentary high of being needed. But here's the brutal truth that nobody tells you. Being needed isn't the same as being valued. Being useful isn't the same as being loved. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes and recall all the times you bent yourself into impossible shapes just to fit into someone else's life. All the times you've made yourself smaller, quieter, less demanding, all in the name of being nice. How many pieces of yourself have you sacrificed at the altar of other people's comfort? This isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about every connection in your life that feels one-sided. Every friendship where you're always the one reaching out. Every family gathering where you play the peacekeeper until your soul feels like it's... You become so good at being there for others that you've forgotten how to be there for yourself. Your empathy has become a weapon turned inward, cutting away at your self-worth with each boundary you fail to set, with each no you can't bring yourself to say. Your capacity to care deeply isn't your weakness. It's your superpower. The problem isn't that you feel too much. It's that you've never been taught how to feel without losing yourself in the process. Let me share a truth that might feel like a punch to the gut. People don't leave nice people because they're nice. They leave because nice people often become invisible even to themselves. When you constantly mold yourself to fit others' expectations, you become a shadow of who you truly are. And shadows, my friend, are easy to walk through, easy to forget, easy to leave behind. Think about the relationships in your life right now. How many of them truly know you? Not the you that says, I'm fine when your world is crumbling. Not the you that smiles and nods while your heart screams in protest. But the real you said, your messy feelings, your inconvenient needs, your wild dreams that you've kept locked away because they might make others uncomfortable. The loneliness you feel isn't because you're too nice. It's because you've been nice in all the wrong ways. You've been nice to everyone except yourself. You've created connections built on what you can give rather than who you are. And that, dear friend, is a foundation made of sand. But here's where everything changes. Here's where you start to unravel the lie that's been woven into the fabric of your being. The lie that says your worth is measured by how much you can give, how much you can endure, how small you can make yourself to keep others comfortable. Your niceness isn't a curse. It's not a flaw that needs fixing. It's a gift that needs boundaries. It's a light that needs direction. It's a strength that needs to be reclaimed from those who've taught you to use it as a shield rather than a sword. The truth is genuine kindness, the kind that comes from a place of strength rather than fear, is magnetic. It draws people in not because of what you can do for them, but because of who you are. Real kindness isn't about being available 24. It's not about saying yes when your soul screams no. It's not about dimming your light so others won't feel threatened by your shine. Real kindness starts with being kind to yourself. It starts with looking in the mirror and seeing someone worthy of protection, someone worthy of respect, someone worthy of love, not because of what they give, but simply because of who they are. Consider this moment a wake-up call. A permission slip to stop playing small, to stop confusing self-sacrifice with love, to stop mistaking compliance for connection. Your journey out of loneliness doesn't begin with learning to be less nice. It begins with learning to be authentically, unapologetically you. The path ahead isn't about becoming harder or colder. It's about becoming truer. It's about understanding that real connections, the kind that fill your cup instead of draining it, can only be built on the foundation of genuine self-worth. You spent so long being the person everyone else needs. Isn't it time to discover who you are when you're not bending yourself into shapes to please others? Isn't it time to find out what happens when you start showing up as your full, magnificent self? The loneliness you feel right now isn't a punishment for being too nice. It's a calling to be more real, more authentic, more true to the incredible soul that you've kept hidden behind all those carefully constructed walls of niceness. Right now, you might be feeling exposed raw, maybe even a little defensive. But being nice is who I am, you might be thinking, it's what makes me special. And you're absolutely right. Your kindness is special. But kindness without boundaries that's not coincidence. That's the power of authenticity. But somewhere along the way, you learned to hide your rough edges. You became so focused on being agreeable that you forgot how to be real. You became so skilled at anticipating others' needs that you lost touch with your own. And in that process, something precious was lost. Your voice, your truth, your essence. Let me share something powerful with you. The most profound connections in life aren't built on endless giving. They're built on mutual seeing, on the courage to show up as you are, not as you think others want you to be, on the bravery to say, this is me, with all my contradictions, all my needs, all my dreams. You might be wondering, but won't people leave if I stop being so accommodating? Some might, and that's okay. Because here's the beautiful truth. When you start showing up as your authentic self, you create space for authentic connections. When you stop being everyone's emotional support system, you make room for real, reciprocal relationships. Think about it like this. Have you ever been in a room full of people, playing the role of the perfect friend, the ultimate listener, the one who never complains, and felt completely alone? That's because true connection can't happen through a persona. It can only happen through authenticity. Your loneliness isn't because you're too nice. It's because you're not allowing yourself to be real. You've become so good at being what others need that you've created a barrier between your true self and the world. And barriers, no matter how beautifully constructed, always lead to loneliness. Here's a truth that might feel like medicine. People aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to authenticity. They're drawn to people who have the courage to say, I'm struggling, to say, I need help, to say, this isn't working for me. These aren't signs of weakness. They're invitations for real connection. Think about the last time someone trusted you enough to be vulnerable with you. Remember how that made you feel closer to them, not further away? That's the power of authentic connection. That's what becomes possible when we stop hiding behind the mask of perpetual niceness. But this isn't just about relationships with others. It's about your relationship with yourself. Every time you silence your needs in the name of being nice, you're telling yourself that your truth doesn't matter. Every time you ignore your boundaries to please others, you're teaching yourself that your limits aren't valid. Every time you swallow your feelings to keep the peace, you're convincing yourself that your emotions are too much. Let's talk about something that nice people often struggle with: anger. You've probably been taught that nice people don't get angry, that anger is ugly, unproductive, unworthy. Anger is often the first honest emotion we feel when our boundaries have been crossed, when our truth has been denied, when our needs have been ignored. Your anger isn't a character flaw. It's a messenger. And it's been trying to tell you something important. Maybe it's telling you that you're tired of being taken for granted. Maybe it's telling you that your dreams matter too. Maybe it's telling you that it's time to stop shrinking your hips. When you allow yourself to need, to want, to feel, you open the door for genuine connection. The journey from nice to authentic isn't about becoming harsh or selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about integrating all parts of yourself, the giving and the receiving, the strong and the vulnerable, the perfect and the flawed. It's about understanding that true connection doesn't require you to be anything other than exactly who you are. Right now, you might be feeling a mix of recognition and resistance. Part of you might be nodding, saying, yes, this is exactly what I've been feeling. Another part might be scared, wondering, but if I change, who will I be? Both of these responses are valid. Both are part of the journey from nice to authentic. Remember this, your capacity for kindness isn't going anywhere. If anything, it will become more powerful when it comes from a place of choice rather than obligation. When it flows from your authentic self rather than your fear of abandonment. When it's given freely rather than used as a way to prove your worth. The hardest truth about breaking free from the prison of perpetual niceness is this: you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel guilty. There will be moments when you'll want to retreat back into the safety of your old patterns, but discomfort is the price of growth. Guilt is the cost of freedom. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Not just okay, not just fine, but fully, vibrantly alive. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. Nice people often live their lives in grayscale, dimming their own light to avoid outshining others. But what if, and this is where everything changes, what if your light is exactly what the world needs? What if your strength, your passion, your truth are gifts that others are waiting to receive? What if your authentic self is the key to the connections you've been yearning for? Think about a garden for a moment. A garden needs boundaries to thrive. It needs fences to keep out what would destroy it. It needs borders to define its space. Yet within those boundaries, incredible beauty flourishes. Your life is no different. Your boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're the framework that allows your authentic self to bloom. Starting today, I want you to begin noticing your patterns. Notice when you automatically say yes. Notice when your heart whispers no, but your mouth forms the shape of yes. Notice when you begin to shrink, to accommodate, These moments of awareness are the first steps toward freedom. Your journey to authentic connection begins with small acts of courage. The courage to pause before responding to a request. The courage to say, I need to think about that instead of an immediate yes. The courage to let someone sit with their own discomfort instead of rushing to fix it. Every time you rush to solve someone else's problem, you rob them of their own growth opportunity. Every time you sacrifice your needs to meet theirs, you create an imbalance that ultimately damages the relationship. Your constant availability isn't helping anyone. It's enabling dependency and breeding resentment. Start practicing the art of healthy selfishness. Yes, you heard that right. Healthy selfishness. It's like the oxygen mask on an airplane. You must secure your own before helping others. Your needs matter. Your dreams matter. Your boundaries matter. And anyone who tries to convince you otherwise isn't interested in a real relationship with you. They're interested in what you can do for them. Let's talk about the voice in your head. The one that says you're being mean when you set a boundary. The one that floods you with guilt when you prioritize your own needs. That voice isn't your conscience. It's your conditioning. It's the accumulated weight of all the times you were praised for putting others first. All the times you were rewarded for ignoring your own needs. But here's what that voice doesn't tell you. True connection requires two whole people, not one person constantly giving and another constantly taking, not one person constantly adjusting and another remaining rigid. Two whole, authentic people, each standing in their truth, each respecting their own and each other's boundaries. Begin to notice the relationships in your life that drain you versus those that energize you. Notice who celebrates your growth and who seems uncomfortable when you start setting boundaries. Notice who makes space for your authenticity and who tries to push you back into your old pattern. Your relationships will begin to shift as you change. Some people will fall away, and that's okay. They were meant for your old self, the one who lived to please others. They were comfortable with a version of you that never caused waves, never had needs, never spoke up. Let them go with gratitude for the lessons they taught you. I need to check my schedule before I commit. That doesn't work for me. I have other plans. Simple phrases, but for a nice person, they can feel like moving mountains. Practice them in the mirror if you need to. The compass pointing toward your authentic life, start small. Maybe it's saying no to one social obligation that you dread. Maybe it's expressing a preference when someone asks where you want to eat. Maybe it's allowing yourself to be unavailable for an evening just because you need time. These small acts of self-respect are the building blocks of authentic living. Pay attention to your body. Notice how it feels when you're about to override your own needs. That tightness in your chest, that knot in your stomach, that's your inner wisdom trying to protect you. Start listening to these physical signals. They're often more honest than the socially acceptable thoughts in your head. Practice receiving as well as giving. When someone offers help, resist the urge to say, I'm fine if you're not. When someone gives you a compliment, resist the urge to deflect it. When someone wants to do something kind for you, this might feel uncomfortable at first. That's okay. Discomfort is often the price of growth. Your journey from nice to authentic isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about letting go of the mask you've worn to please others. It's about trusting that your authentic self is not just enough. The people who are meant to be in your life will celebrate your growth. They'll respect your boundaries. They'll welcome your authenticity. They might not always like it when you say no, but they'll respect it. They might not always understand your choices, but they'll support your right to make them. The loneliness you feel now is temporary. It's the loneliness of transformation, of becoming. Like a butterfly in its cocoon, you're in the process of becoming something magnificent. Trust this process. Trust that as you become more authentically yourself, you'll attract relationships that mirror this authenticity. As you begin this journey of transformation, you might find yourself wondering, what happens to all the love I have to give? What happens to my natural desire to care for others? When you learn to balance giving with healthy boundaries, your capacity to love becomes even more powerful, because now it comes from a place of choice rather than compulsion.
Let's talk about something that nice people rarely acknowledge: the hidden resentment that builds up when we're constantly giving without receiving. Have you noticed how that resentment seeps into your relationships? How it creates a subtle barrier between you and others? How it makes you feel even more alone, even as you're surrounded by people who rely on you?
This resentment isn't a character flaw. It's not a sign that you're not nice enough. It's your soul's way of telling you that something is out of balance. It's your inner wisdom crying out for reciprocity, for authenticity, for the right to have needs of your own. Think about the relationships you admire most. The ones that seem to have that special spark, that deep connection you're yearning for. If you look closely, you'll notice these relationships aren't built on one person constantly giving and another constant. They're built on mutual respect, mutual vulnerability, mutual growth. Your journey to authentic connection requires you to embrace a paradox. By becoming less available, you become more valuable. By setting boundaries, you create the space for real intimacy. By saying no to what depletes you, you make room for what. Start paying attention to the subtle ways you abandon yourself. Notice how you dismiss your own feelings to keep others comfortable. Notice how you minimize your achievements to avoid making others feel insecure. Notice how you swallow your words to maintain peace. Codependency. Start treating your energy as the precious resource it is. Would you give away your life savings to everyone who asked? Of course not. Yet nice people often give away something even more valuable, their emotional energy, without any boundaries or discernment. Your time, your energy, your emotional availability. These are your life's currency. Start investing them wisely. Is this relationship giving me energy or draining it? Is this commitment aligned with my values or just my fear of disappointing others? Is this choice moving me toward authentic connection or deeper into isolation? Begin to notice the difference between true generosity and compulsive giving. True generosity fills you up. It energizes you. It comes from your overflow. Compulsive giving depletes you. It exhausts you. It comes from your fear of not being enough. Your journey to authentic connection requires you to face some uncomfortable truths, like how your niceness might sometimes be a sophisticated form of control. By always being the giver, you never have to risk being the receiver. By always being the helper, you never have to risk being helped. Start practicing the art of receiving. When someone offers support, take a deep breath and say yes. When someone wants to be there for you, let them. When someone sees your pain and reaches out, don't brush it away with, "I'm fine." This might feel terrifying at first. That's okay. Growth often feels like fear in the beginning. Learn to trust the wisdom of your discomfort. When something feels off in a relationship, don't rush to smooth it over. Sit with it. Explore it. Your discomfort is trying to tell you something important about your boundaries, your needs, your truth. Start paying attention to the quality of your connections rather than the quantity. Nice people often pride themselves on being there for everyone. But what's the depth of those connections? Are they built on real intimacy or just obligation? On mutual growth or just habit? Your capacity for deep connection is directly related to your willingness to be real. It'd be messy, to be human, to need things, to want things, to feel things deeply and express those feelings honestly. Begin to notice the difference between peacekeeping and truth-telling. Nice people often choose peacekeeping, but here's the thing. True peace can only exist where truth is honored, where needs are acknowledged, where boundaries are respected. Start practicing what I call loving authenticity. This means being real with others while still holding space for compassion, both for them and for yourself. It means saying things like, I care about you and I need to take care of myself right now. Both parts of that sentence are equally true, equally important. Your journey from nice to authentic will require courage, the courage to disappoint people, the courage to be misunderstood, the courage to stand in your truth even when others try to shame you back into your old patterns. But here's what I know about courage. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The goal isn't to stop being kind. The goal is to include yourself in your circle of kindness, to treat yourself with the same compassion you so freely give to others, to honor your own needs with the same dedication you bring to meeting others' needs. As you continue this journey, you'll start to notice something magical happening. The more real you become, the more real your connections become. The more you honor your boundaries, the more others respect them. The more you trust your truth, the more life brings you people who celebrate that truth. You're standing at a crossroads right now. One path leads back to the familiar territory of people-pleasing, of silencing your truth, of loving others at the expense of yourself. The other path leads toward authentic connection, toward relationships built on mutual respect and genuine intimacy. The choice is yours, but you already know which path your soul is calling you to take. Let's talk about what awaits you on this new path. First, there will be moments of doubt. Moments when you wonder if you're being selfish, if you're asking for too much, if you're risking too much. These doubts are normal. They're the echoes of your old conditioning, the last gasps of patterns that no longer serve you, the discovery of your own worth. Not the worth that comes from what you do for others, but the inherent worth that exists simply because you exist. This discovery will change everything. How you love, how you live, how you connect with others. Your relationships will begin to transform. Some will deepen, becoming richer and more authentic than you ever imagined possible. Others will fall away, making space for connections that match your new energy. This isn't loss. It's evolution. It's your life reorganizing itself around your truth. Start noticing the subtle, building the foundation for real connection. Let go of the myth that love means constant availability. Real love is breathing room. It has space for individuality. It has respect for boundaries. It thrives on authenticity, not obligation. It grows stronger through start trusting the power of your truth. When you speak from your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same. When you honor your needs, you create space for others to honor theirs. When you show up as your real self, you invite real connection. Your journey from nice to authentic isn't about becoming less loving. It's about loving wisely. It's about understanding that true love, whether for yourself or others, requires boundaries. It requires respect. It requires truth. Begin to see your alone time not as punishment, but as preparation. This space you're creating in your life by setting boundaries, it's sacred. It's where you'll rediscover your voice, your dreams, your power. It's where you'll learn to be comfortable in your own company before seeking the company of others. Your worth isn't in your usefulness to others. Your worth isn't in your availability. Your worth isn't in your ability to keep everyone happy. Your worth is intrinsic, unchangeable, complete. Let that truth sink deep into your bones. Start treating your life as a sacred space. Not everyone gets automatic access. Not everyone gets unlimited emotional real estate in your heart. Some people get to be in the outer courts of your life, some in the inner chambers, and some don't get in at all. This isn't unkind. It's wise. Learn to listen to the quiet voice of your intuition. It knows when a relationship is feeding your soul and when it's draining it. It knows when a boundary needs to be set and when it's safe to be vulnerable. It knows when to give and when to preserve your energy. Your capacity for deep connection isn't diminished by having boundaries. It's enhanced by them. Like a riverbank that gives water its direction and force, your boundaries give your love power and purpose. Begin to see that the loneliness you've been feeling isn't because you're too nice. It's because you haven't been real enough. Real connection can only happen between real people. not personas, not masks, not carefully constructed versions of ourselves designed to please others. Trust that as you step into your authenticity, life will bring you people who celebrate the real you, not the convenient you, not the always available you, not the never needs anything you, but the real, complex, beautiful, sometimes messy, fully human you. Your journey to authentic connection is also a journey to self-discovery. As you peel away the layers of people-pleasing and perfectionism, you'll find parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. Parts with dreams and desires and, yes, even demands. Welcome them all. They're all part of your truth. Remember this: the world doesn't need more nice people. The world needs more real people. People who can say yes with enthusiasm and no with conviction. People who can love fiercely while maintaining healthy boundaries. People who can give generously without depleting themselves. Start seeing your transformation as a gift. Not just to yourself, but to everyone in your life. From niceness to authenticity, from pleasing others to honoring yourself. You're ready to discover that true connection doesn't require you to abandon yourself. It requires you to be more fully yourself than you've ever been before. Let this be your moment of transformation. Let this be the day you choose truth over comfort, authenticity over approval, real connection over artificial harmony. Let this be the day you begin to write a new story. Not just about being nice, but about being real, being true, being fully, magnificently yourself.